The give-get paradigm is the fundamental principle that governs every single negotiation in sales. And it's very simple. Anytime you are giving your prospect something, you're going to get something in return. So if you give them a discount, you need to get their commitment that they're going to close by the end of the month. You need to get timeline in return. And the problem is most sellers literally execute it in that order. They give a discount and then they try to get timeline in return. And so the prospect's like, ooh, I'll take that 20% discount. And they're like, great, I'm anchored there. And then the salesperson is like, awesome, can you close by the end of the month? And they're like, ooh, I'm not sure, but I need that 20%. So folks, the secret to avoiding all of this is to actually like flip the give-get paradigm on its head. You want to get something in return before you give something to your prospect. And so we're going to walk through how to like execute that in practice in 3 steps in a negotiation. So step number 1 is confirming vendor of choice. Step number 2 is locking down your deal. And then step number 3 is executing the give-get paradigm. Let's walk through step number 1, which is confirming vendor of choice. The biggest problem that a lot of salespeople run into when they start a negotiation is they start a negotiation when the prospect hasn't even earned the right to negotiate with you. In other words, you might get sliced apart by a CFO 10% by 10% by 10% in a 7-call negotiation. And at the end of the negotiation, when your quote goes from like 100K down to like 30K, they just go and take that quote and bring it to your competitor and make them match it and then go with your competitor. If you are not already the vendor of choice, if the customer has not explicitly said, independent of price, I would move forward with you. In other words, if all of your quotes were exactly the same, I would move forward with you, then you have not earned the right to negotiate with me. So that is literally what you're going to ask them, is you're going to say something along the lines of like, hey, Jane, I totally get it. I know you want to talk about price. Before we even get to like the economics and of all of this stuff, I want to make sure that this isn't a complete waste of time and you actually want to work with us. So let's pretend that us and everyone else that you were looking at were the exact same cost, independent of price. Are we your vendor of choice? And so 9 times out of 10, if you run a good sales cycle, their answer will be something like, yes, but within reason. You can't be 3 times as expensive as your competitor. And now I know like, okay, I'm at least the vendor of choice and they want to move forward with me. And in the worst case scenario, if I had to match a competitor, I would still win the deal. That's the first step. So we already got the customer's commitment that they're going to close. I now need to get the customer's commitment that they're going to close on time. So step number 2 is I've got a lockdown timeline. So this is when you can start to make your CFO the bad guy. And you're going to say something like this, totally get it. And I think you'd be an awesome customer too. The other thing that I want to caveat upfront before we get into any of these economics is my guess is like, you're probably going to want to talk through the proposal and you're going to ask me for a million things. And I'm going to have to bring something back to my CFO. If I bring a proposal back to my CFO, the number 1 question they are going to ask me is, hey, Armand, as you remember, you have to hit a forecast. I have to hit a forecast to my board. We are willing to pay for our ability to predict. Has this customer told us they are explicitly going to sign at the end of the month? So I have to ask that question to you. If we're able to get to a number and a proposal that your team is happy with, can you get a contract inked by X date? And that means through legal, through security, through every internal approval. You know what your buying process looks like. Can you get through all of those steps? And if the answer is no, then you should say, look, then we need to like map out those steps and get to some reasonable timeline that we can commit to, because we can't come up with a proposal that just has no backstop to it because we're coming forward and we just ask for your commitment in return too. But if they say, yeah, I can get this done by the end of the month, you might pressure test it and be like, okay, what does legal look like? What does security look like? What does IT look like? What does all these other things look like? And if they can get it done by the end of the month, the last thing you're going to do before you move forward is you're going to say like, awesome.
Your cold email reply rates literally triple if you pair them with a cold call. Right now, you can get 34% off our 30 Minutes to President's Club outbound bundle, which includes our cold calling course, Cold Calls to President's Club, which will teach you exactly what to do, what to say, and how to sound for every single step of a cold call. It also includes our cold email course, which will teach you how to write personalized, one-to-one feeling cold emails in minutes, not hours, and how to make world-class offers to your buyer to solicit responses instead of just asking for time. And so if you go to 30mpc.com/courses, go check out our outbound bundle and you will find yourself booking meeting after meeting after meeting and on your way to President's Club.
So I just want to preface this up front because these conversations get uncomfortable later. Anything that we work on today will be contingent on us getting this done by X date. if we are not able to get this done by X date, I want to share this now because it gets really uncomfortable later. I know my CFO is going to take over the proposal, and I'm not saying that we are literally like going to start over from scratch, but what I can say is the number will not be that number if we are not able to get this done at the end of the month. Are you good with that? Awesome. Great. You got to take those uncomfortable conversations when your deal slips and then you're like being like, oh, now your quote is going to go up from like 70K to 80K. Like, that's the way that you blow up a deal entirely, is a customer feels like slapped in the face because they were trying to get legal done and you never told them how much you were going to raise their price. And like, next thing you know, the deal slips and now you're just like jacking up their price without warning them. You got to tell them up front that if this deal slips, I'm telling you right now, I'm going to have to take this proposal away and this number is going to go up. All right, have that conversation up front and your life will get much easier later. And also the timeline will have some teeth to it because you've already told them that the price is going to go up. So that brings us to the third step. And this is when the negotiation actually begins. So as a recap, like, these are 3 steps that you should do before any negotiation happens. There are multiple more steps that I'll go through in some other video where we actually walk through like every step you go through inside of a negotiation. But the final step is you start to execute the give get. And guess what? The third step is get them to take a step forward and give you the number before you give anything in return. In other words, you need to get their number before you give them a discount. So what that usually sounds like is this. Again, at the beginning of this call, let's assume that we've already given price and they asked us for some sort of concession. And let's say that they gave us something generic where it's like, your price is too expensive. I went through step 1, I confirmed that I'm the vendor of choice. Hey, independent of pricing, let's just pretend that we were the same cost. Are we the vendor of choice? Great, we're in the right place. Cool. Hey, I'm not saying that we can get to whatever number you want to be on. Number 2, I got to lock down my deal. Hey, if we get to a number that you're happy with, are we able to close on time? They say yes. Awesome. Now we get to step 3. Hey, I can't take a total shot of the dark because if I go back to my CFO and I'm like, I don't know where they need to be, but I think 70 grand will get it done. My CFO is going to look at me and they're going to be like, you're telling me that you want me to negotiate against myself and shoot in the dark, and you don't even know if this deal is going to come in at this number? We don't do the whole used car salesman thing here where we go through cut after cut after cut. I need to know what you have in budget and what you can get done with your team. You need to tell me that, and then I can go back to my boss and we can get this done in one cut. Otherwise, I might not get to the right number the first time, and then you're going to be like, I need more. And then I'm going to be like, there's nothing I can do because I only get one shot with my team. That's how you speed up a negotiation. You get them to say like, this is what gets you to a win, and then you just take that whole thing. And that's not just price. So you usually start with price. It's like, okay, so like that's the number you need to be at. But like, you've seen this proposal, like, you know, the billing terms, you know, all of the other like fine print inside of this. I'm not saying you need to redline this whole contract right now, but like, are there other commercial terms that you're going to ask for? Because I need to bundle this all together in one package. And now you can start to force them to make trade-offs in the negotiation where it's like, okay, you want like 70K instead of 100K, but you also want like monthly payments on net 90. It's like, I can't get you down to 70 and all of that stuff. I probably can't get you to 70 at all. I can probably get like an 8 in front of it if you pay it all up front. Or it's probably in like the higher 8s if you don't pay everything up front and you want this in monthly payments just because we care about cash. And now I can start to force the customer to make trade-offs so that anytime I'm giving them something, whether it's price, billing terms, or something else, they are giving me something, or I'm getting something in return. I'm getting a higher price in return for those billing terms. And that's how you finish your negotiations quickly, is every single thing they ask for, you create a cost to it. So eventually it's like every time they're like, give me 10%, they're like, oh, you stabbed me in the side. Give me 20%, oh, you got me over here. And then eventually like they stop asking you for stuff. So those are your 3 steps. Confirm you're the vendor of choice, lock down your deal and confirm timeline. And then the third is execute the give get, or in other words, get their number before you give anything in return. Alrighty, folks, if you like this one, let me know in the comments the #1 negotiation thing that you'd like us to cover next. Like, subscribe, follow on the channel. It's the #1 way that you can support us doing more videos like this. And the last thing that I'll share is we have an entire write-up. I did like a 2-part negotiation series in our newsletter that breaks down like what to do before a negotiation, which is really this video, and then what to do during the negotiation to like create options and trade-offs to speed up your deal. I'll put links to both of those here in the show notes, and we'll see you on the next one. Peace, folks.